On the equipment you carry on this truck, hand tools and equipment. I believe a lot of hand tools need to be mounted to the outside so it's easy to see what you got and what you need. The equipment, there's some equipment that needs to be carried inside the compartmentation. For instance, my SCBA, spare bottle, mask, flashlight, equipment like this. If you take this equipment here and put it inside of a compartment, you don't see what you have, and also you've got to look for it. You got to sort through this equipment to find it. Lower compartments, again, you can put chains, whatever. It's just more compartmentation. But when you have compartmentation, you've got to open it up and you've got to look for it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull all the equipment. The only equipment I'm going to pull off this truck is the equipment I have mounted on the outside of the truck, so you can see how much equipment is actually on this truck. This equipment here was just on the exterior of the truck. None of this is in a compartment. Now if you get to looking here, if this is all bunched up into a compartment, first off you got to dig through your compartment and figure out what you got, where it's at, and then get it out of the compartment. We've got 3 McLeods, 3 fire rakes, 3 fire swatters, a flathead shovel, round shovel, 2 different extinguishers, 2 sets of hydrant tools, my drip torch, a 6-foot pry bar, a spud bar, 3, I will do my blast systems, my Halligan tool, my sheetrock tool, pike pole, flathead axe, pickhead axe, LA trash hook, chocks. Again, I can pick all this equipment off individually, one at a time. On the priming of the pump, there's 3 options. There's a hand primer, there's the exhaust primer, and there's electric primer. This particular truck was set up with the electric primer. If you do a lot of drafting and you pull a lot of distance, look at your electric primer. Your electric primer is going to take a lot more maintenance. You have to come here and you've got to activate this thing at least once a month to keep this primer freed up. It's a dry primer off there. The exhaust primer is getting to be the least popular because when you go to your bigger engines, you can't put the exhaust primer on them. That's eliminated. The hand primer is my most popular, the cheapest, and least amount of maintenance. It's very cheap to keep running, and it's very functional off of it. While we're back here, another option that you can add to it is just a pre-connect fill line to your hydrants. It's a 50-foot hose. That's all this option is here. Reels. The reel option, again, this particular is a low center reel. It's got 100 foot on here. You could put your 3/4. A reel's kind of like light bars. There's a lot of options out there in which to choose this from. We try to make it accessible from the ground. I don't like anything accessible up high that we have to grab and pull off in here. My hand tools, I want them accessible from the ground as I'm pulling them off this truck. Now the top compartment we got up here, inside this particular compartment, we've got a chainsaw, a rescue saw, a leaf blower. I think there's 5 5-gallon cans of foam, a couple hard suctions, 4 Indian packs, equipment that you're not in a hurry to get a hold of and stuff. Mounting your equipment outside of the truck is extremely important, and also where you mount it is important, how you set this up. For instance, we're back here hooking up. Here's all our hydrant wrench and our spanner wrenches and stuff on this here. You look at your configuration, what you're running to. I don't like much equipment on the back end of a truck because when you're behind this truck, you are exposed. If another car comes through the smoke or another truck and you're standing back here, you got the potential of being hurt very severely. Controls on the back of a truck. I am very anti-control on the back end of a truck, because if I'm standing back here operating my pump panel or controls back here, I have my back to the traffic. Something can come through the smoke and hit me. We had an incident where there was a chief. He was standing back here operating his pump. Another one of his trucks come through the smoke and collided with the back end of the truck. Needless to say, it wasn't a good deal. You know, we lost this person here. We've had a lot of different other accidents. A person's lost his legs because of controls. So I'm very anti-controls on the back of the truck. The only control we got back here is when you go into drafting. Okay, let's talk about the tank. This is where a person gets taken a lot of times on it. First off, the top of my water is right here. This is the line at the top of my water. From here, right on across. From here up, this is compartmentation. This is my top box above my compartmentation. This is the top of my water. We recess this water down into the tank. The bottom of the water is right here. Even with the bottom right here is the bottom of my water. Another huge individually thing that person will miss is the sump. The sump is one of the most important things on a tank. When you suck water out of a tank, you will leave 6 inches of water in the tank because of the swirling action, like in a bathtub or something like that, water slushing around. So you need a sump. The sump on this truck is 6 inches deep. Also, you need a big enough sump to catch the water that you're pumping. Say we're pumping this pump at 120 gallons a minute. We have to be able to draw that water off the bottom of that tank into that compartment. Now say you got an inch of water on the bottom of that tank, just an inch on the layer. You've got to have enough surface to move 1 inch of water to get 125 gallons a minute to come in there. So our sump is 24 inches wide, 20 inches deep. So it's 6 by 24 by 20. This gives us a big enough sump to get it in. Also in that sump, where our suction's at, we got what we call a swirl plate. Make sure you get the swirl plates in there and get it sucking correctly all around that swirl plate to prevent it from cavitating on you sucking air. The compartmentation, you know, the baffling stuff, NFPA, that's one great thing NFPA's done. They dictate it. Make sure you got an NFPA compliant tank on the compartmentation. This particular tank's 500 gallons. We've got 6 columns inside that. We've got a cross baffle and 2 length baffles, which gives us 6 compartments. On this particular truck, we got an HP 200 23 horse pump. We will do 125 at 125 PSI. Coming out of the tank, we're running 3-inch suction. We come out here and then drop it to a 2.5-inch valve with another 2.5-inch valve coming up for drafting. We're coming out of the pump at 2.5 inches going into our manifold. The reason for that large plumbing is friction loss. This is where you get your performance out of your pumps. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the foam system and the foam tank. First off, foam systems. I am an anti-around the pump foam system person. If you're going to use an around the pump foam system, just get you some quart jugs and dump in the tank and batch mix it, because you've got an accurate mix. If you use an around the pump foam system, the foam will go into the tank. I guarantee you, because you've got to circulate that pump. So what it's doing is it's sucking, it's taking the water from the pressure side, running it through a venturi and send it back in to the suction side of the pump. That's the reason they call it around the pump foam injection system. If you're flowing water into that tank to keep that pump cool, it is actually injecting foam into that tank. You take a cap of foam and pour it in that tank and circulate that tank, it's going to foam. When you open up your nozzle, you have to open up your foam injection system. Turn it on at the same time. If you adjust the gallonage of your nozzle, you have to adjust the gallonage on your around the pump foam injection system. So any movement on that nozzle has to be duplicated on that foam injection system. How is that operator going to know what to do on that foam injection system, especially if there's a structure fire? Now, if you're a wildland fire, you turn your off and on, it's not quite as critical, but you're still going to be flowing foam in this tank. You forget to shut the foam system off. You leave that switch on and you shut everything down. If your foam is higher than your tank foam, say your tank foam is higher than your water tank, you will drain that entire tank of foam into your water tank. Say your foam tank is even with your water tank or lower, you will drain water back into your foam tank. Then they say, well, we can prevent that from happening with check valves. Check valves are great when they're brand new, get a little age on them, and then they stick, and then the system doesn't work at all. An around the pump foam injection system, to install one on a truck, time you buy the system, put the tank on and plumb it, is around $1,000. My recommendation to you is save you $1,000, put your $1,000 in equipment on the truck or something else, or in compartmentation, something that's going to be beneficial. And then go buy you some quart jugs and batch mix it. If you batch mix and have it figured out at 1/10%, it's 1/10%. If you have to have 1%, you're fighting a car fire or something, and it's a 500-gallon tank here, grab a 5-gallon container, dump it in the tank. If you're going to have a foam system, get a true foam system. That system is going to cost you from $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the type of foam system you're putting on the tank. Another issue we do, I like an external foam tank. This is a clear tank. First off, I can see how much foam I've got in this tank. I basically got 40% of foam in my tank. I can have the tank cell, foam cell, installed into the water tank. Two disadvantages of that, and then there's advantages of it. The advantage of it is it's more compact. You get it, do it. Disadvantage, you're starting to raise the water level and stuff up on your tank and stuff. The biggest disadvantage of a foam cell in there, if you happen to mess up and put the wrong stuff in that foam cell and try to clean that out, then you've got a problem. We got into a situation one time, I'm not too sure what they mixed into it, but they mixed up something that turned into jelly. I mean, it was just like plastic. We washed and washed on that tank. We finally had to cut the top of the tank off to get that cell cleaned out. You know, so I don't care for the cells inside of the tank. It's up to you what you want there. Sometimes we have to go inside the tank, but if I can put an external cell on here, this allows me, if something happens, I can clean that cell out rapidly. I can just undo the lines, take the tank over here, wash it out, clean it out, and put the tank back onto the truck. Another option that you really need to look at is the step option. Okay, when you order the top box, you're going to automatically get the step option. Now, the way these steps have been performed here, you don't step from here to here. It's too far of a step. Where the step is, it's a natural step. You step here, the back bumper, and come up, and one on it. It's a natural walk up as you're coming in here. Again, you're coming off, step, step.